welcome. As mentioned in the chat, we're all very excited to have you here. We will get started in about a minute. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I think we'll give people a few more seconds to join. We have a great group in here. All righty. Amazing. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. Okay, while everyone settles in, I think we can go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for being here and welcome on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. My name is Judith Gutierrez and I am class of 2018, Rachel Carson College. I majored in politics with a focus on American government. While you're joining us, we encourage you to turn your cameras on if you are willing and able. We'd love to see your beautiful, engaged, smiling faces. Mind your mute button so as you don't interrupt our wonderful presenter today, as well as any of our team members asking questions or answering them and whatnot. If you do have any questions or just want to chime in and engage, we do encourage you to use that chat box that is down on your taskbar. And Shayna Kent will go ahead and moderate the chat box, and our wonderful presenter, Katherine, will be answering questions throughout the presentation. So as I mentioned, I am also an alumni myself, one of the most recent ones, class of 2018, and I have the pleasure of serving on the UCSC Alumni Council, which supports the UC Santa Cruz community by engaging both students and alumni who are interested in giving back to their community and their alma mater. We provide volunteer opportunities for all of our alumni, so if you're ever interested in getting involved, I do encourage you to check out our social media platforms as well as our website so that you can see what is available. With me today, we have our wonderful team. We have Shayna Kent, Nicole Silva, Helen Everbuck, and Barbara Oden Petrie. Now, you didn't come here to see me talk all day, so it's my pleasure to introduce Katherine Bell, who has volunteered to share one of their passions with you. Katherine Bell is a Dreamwork practitioner and founder of Experiential Dreamwork. Katherine was grad division class of 1993, studying astrophysics. Katherine worked in NASA for 11 years to pursue a career in astrophysics, and then went on to pursue a career in dreams. So please join me in welcoming Katherine Bell.
Thank you, Judith. It's really good to be here. It's good to see some familiar faces, and if you feel like turning on your cameras, that'd be great. But also, I'm happy to be here to be sharing my latest passion of dreams, which is I've been studying dreams for quite some time, and it has become a career. Oops, I did the wrong order. This is screen share. All right. So wouldn't you like to solve your problems, ease your worries, and improve your relationships? Who wouldn't want to do that? Well, don't worry, because you are doing it every night. That dreams are something that have evolved with us as human beings to balance us out socially and emotionally. So my name is Katherine Bell, as Judith says, and today we're going to talk about the treasure hunt, opening up to love and longing in your nightly dreams. So often people's dreams are distressing, and you wake up and you think, what was that all about? And what I've noticed over time is that there are these nuggets inside the dreams of helpful people, helpful moments, beautiful events that happen, and we can really learn to focus on those beautiful supportive moments to help us to open up to to the support that already exists in our every day. So I want to start with a meditation. I'm going to just take a minute here to invite you all to go within, So I'm inviting you to notice your breath, just whatever is happening with your breath right now. And wherever you notice your breath, if you notice it perhaps in your nose, you can leave your eyes open or close them if you like. But I invite you to notice the breath and notice how it feels in your body. This breath that accompanies us all day and all night. Maybe you feel it in your chest. Maybe you feel it in your belly. And there's something amazing about the breath, that it proceeds without our awareness. And here it is taking care of us all day and all night. Really, our friend on our journey is our breath. And so now I'm going to invite you to actually stop your breath just for a few seconds, but just either at the top or the bottom of your inhale, just hold your breath real gently for a few seconds. And you'll notice that very quickly a lot of pressure builds up. So go ahead and resume breathing normally. And what you'll see is that there is a lot of pressure inside of our bodies to help us to do what is healthful. And that the breath wants to continue. It wants to be breathed. And so if we stop our breath by some mechanism like this conscious control, then the body speaks up and the body goes back into regulation. And there are many systems within our body that have this sort of regulation. There's the heartbeat, which proceeds also all day and all night without our conscious control. So just let yourself become aware of your body and all that it does for you. And you might even feel a little gratitude for your body, that it is here and that allows us to be here, and it allows us to do everything that we do in our world. So there's the breath, the heartbeat, the digestion, there's our immune system, there's our brain, and there's our sleep-wake cycle. And this is something that happens automatically as well. And within the sleep-wake cycle, while you are sleeping, your body naturally goes through these periods of dreamings and periods of deeper sleep, and then dreaming, lighter sleep, and then into the deeper sleep. So you're welcome to open your eyes now, but to try to maintain a little bit of awareness with your body, that there is so much going on here within your body that is taking care of itself. Now, there are many spiritual traditions involving the breath. And the breath, as you found, is something that we can control to a certain degree. We can make ourselves stop breathing, but then we must resume. And there are many spiritual practices like pranayama, yoga, many kinds of meditation where we learn to regulate the breath to enhance its healthful benefits. And similarly, I've found that Dreamwork can be a way of enhancing the natural nightly process of dreaming. So your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers that you have built against it. So the thing about dreams is that we are not looking to change anything about our dreams. In fact, we want to get to the place where we trust our dreams as part of the natural body that we have. The dreams are a natural part of who we are. And what I have found is that the dreams are often very adept at showing us our barriers to love. So it can be a little alarming when we are shown some of those barriers, because it shows up looking like a dream that's uncomfortable, an uncomfortable dream, a bad dream. But what the barrier is it's showing us how we are blocking ourselves from love, how we are keeping ourselves from finding love. And there are also dreams where they show us opening up to love. So the dreams showing us the barriers are usually pretty clear, but I'm going to show you the treasure hunt, where we start looking for the ways that the dreams are helping us to open up to love. Okay, there. So I was raised in a scientific family. My parents were both professional scientists, my three siblings, and I all went into these hard sciences, and we were not encouraged to talk about emotions. We were not encouraged to talk about our inner self. There was a way that we had to keep a lot of that inside of ourselves, and is more concerned with the outside world, about what is going on outside of us. And so there were many times when I felt overwhelmed, and there's a way that I felt like I was being flooded, and and yet I was able to function. So I found that I was a very high functioning person. In fact, I went all the way through college, all the way through graduate school, including UC Santa Cruz from 1985 to 1993, when I graduated with a PhD in astrophysics. And so I was able to pursue these careers, even though I was very unhappy a lot of the time. And that there was a way that I found I could move through the world in sort of by rote, where my body kind of felt like this dead thing that I had to kind of carry along with me. And I felt like it was a burden to have this body when all I really wanted to do was think. And yet what happened is I was very unhappy during those days. And I think in a lot of ways, I didn't even know that I was unhappy, that I was just, okay, this is what life is like. Okay, life is difficult. That's just how it is. And I didn't really realize that there was any other way to be in the world. So these drawings I'm showing you are various drawings that I've done of my dreams over the years. And I wanted to share some of them with you. And one thing, so there's something that kind of brought my misery to a head, to the point where I could not deny it anymore, is in 2005, I had a 1-year-old baby, and I was in the Hood River, on windsurfing at the Hood River Columbia Gorge. And I had gone up there with my baby and a friend because my husband didn't come along. And, you know, at the time I knew, but I was in denial about the fact that he was with another woman. And, you know, I was like, not going to feel that. So I just decided that I was going to be fine. Everything was fine. I was going to do the vacation. I was going to go up to the Columbia River Gorge and have a great time. But what happened is that I started to feel pain in my gut. And I was so much immersed in not feeling my feelings that I was able to actually pretend that I didn't feel this pain, which got worse and worse over several days, until finally my appendix ruptured and I almost died. So I ended up in a Columbia River Gorge hospital for 9 days on my own, as I dealt with the fact that I had learned so thoroughly to ignore my own feelings, my own literal feelings in my body, that I almost died. And so there's a way that I really realized how much I had abandoned myself. And that was a big wake-up call for me. So I got back to Santa Cruz after that vacation. What vacation it was. And I went deeper into my dreams, because the dreams had always been there helping me move through my life. And what this drawing here is I call Crazy Wind, because there was a way that the dreams started to sweep away a lot of the structures in my life. The dreams started to like have, you know, things started collapse. Like I would have dreams of buildings just collapsing, and fires and earthquakes and post-apocalyptic scenes. And so my dreams started to wake up and started to show me my way forward. And then the dreams started to kind of lift me, started to carry me forward in a way that I didn't understand. And then there came these dreams where there's openings, where I started to see through into another realm. In the lower right corner of this picture, you can see the black and white in the picture, then like movie screen and a TV, where I felt really remote. I had a lot of dreams where I felt really remote. I felt like I was watching everything on TV. I wasn't being touched by the things happening in my dreams. But then this wall started to open up. There's something started to open, and I started to make this connection with these people on the other side. You know, other side of what, I don't even know. But there was like this wall opened up in a particular dream, which was very powerful for me. And I made a connection with this beautiful woman on the other side. And there is a way that these characters are in almost every dream, that actually we can find helpful characters in almost every dream. And I call these characters allies. So there was a lot of trauma dreams that I also had to go through as I started to work in depth more with my dreams, that I found that there was a lot of really painful things that started to open up that I also had to make contact with. And I actually have a trigger warning with this talk perhaps, but there was a lot of really gruesome things that started to open up for me. And I realized that part of what was going on is because because I had gotten so accustomed to not paying attention to my feelings, that as I started to feel back into my body, I was kind of shocked by the physical sensations that I had in my body. And in this particular dream was very important for me. And when I was in a cage, and you see the bars of the cage across the top, and I started singing, and there was something about singing where I could feel in my body. I could feel, people who sing know that there's like this resonance that go through your body. And there was something about singing who I am and what I am. And as I started to sing, there was like this click, and suddenly these flames came on in the cage. And I was like trapped in the cage. But what happened in the dream is that I suddenly leapt out of my body. So I left behind my body, and my body was in this place where it was being burned, but I was like separated from the body. And so it really let me know how and why I tended to disassociate. So there is something very powerful about dissociation. And I would say dissociation is a kind of a human superpower, that there's a way that that by enabling ourselves to not feel what's going in our body, that we can actually accomplish so many things. I really came face to face with this during the fires of Santa Cruz that last fall, as I live in Bonnie Doon, and I was evacuated from my home for almost 3 weeks. And during that time, I didn't know if my home was standing or not. And it was actually extremely helpful for me to be disassociated during this time. It was very helpful that I didn't get to feel what was the panic, the fear, and the anguish that was going on for me. But hopefully as soon as possible, you get to a place where you can reassociate those feelings that you didn't let yourself feel. And so my dreams, bit by bit, helps me to stay in the fire. So in this dream, I'm also as consumed by the fire, but I'm supported. I have these loving entities that are wrapping their arms around me, and so I can bear the unbearable. I don't know. It's not agony exactly. The unbearable aliveness that exists in my body and all of our bodies. We have this amazing switching mechanism in our brain that allows us to pay attention to whatever we deem is important. And very often we tune out the things that happen in our body. And that's one reason I like to start a talk like this with a meditation to help remind us that we have bodies, and to take a moment and let that switching tune into the feelings in our bodies. But over time, the dreams helped me to reconnect more to my bodies as I found these support. And one of the interesting things that started to happen is I found that the dreams, that once I had found support, both in talking about my dreams, that I had a dream coach that I went to, and I had dream groups, and that just basically once I had found a way to get support, that some traumas from early in my life started to come up in my dreams. They were encoded ways, so I didn't always know. This is a dream that I had where I saw a person whose back was on fire, and it was just like, it kind of sent this shock through me. And I see my shoulders right here. And when I was working the dream, I just felt into the sensation of the fire. But later, as I was drawing the dream, I realized that this particular dream might have been helping me work out the painful feeling that I had when I was 10 years old, and I accidentally knocked over a pot of boiling water onto my back, and I got second-degree burns all the way from my butt to the top of my neck, to the bottom of my neck, the whole back. And it was like, and it was very traumatizing. I had this kind of shoulder thing for years afterwards, because I had a lot of pain for months and months afterwards while my back was healing. So even decades later, the dreams are working out our traumas. And it's not surprising to say that the dreams also went back and started to work out the trauma I had of the ruptured appendix up in the Hood River. And that there's ways I had a whole series of dreams about my belly being cut open in various ways. But you'll see in the left corner there that there is a doctor. And that in this dream, although the most vivid image was of the the cutting open and the trauma of my my surgery and the appendix being ruptured, that there's help for me. And bit by bit, I've learned to look for these helpful figures and to know that they're not there to take away my pain, but they are there to be with me in my pain, just as those people were enfolding me as I stood in the fire that was burning me, so that I could be in my body, in the tender and the painful and the sensitive parts of my body, yet I could be there with somebody, not alone. Because so often the difference between trauma and just a really bad situation is that we're alone. In trauma, we don't have the support that we need. And the dreams start to bring back in this level of support through the allies and through bringing these beautiful experiences as well. If you start to look for these allies, I think you'll find them in almost every dream. This is a picture I like because when I was starting to do the really deeper dream work, I had this dream of going down into this mine, and it was a dusty, old, abandoned mine with rusty railroad tracks and little carts, and I come around a corner, and there are these two beautiful urns, and they're like 4 feet tall. In the dream, there are these giant urns that were these beautiful colors, and they were totally unbroken. And so they're even in this place, which I had abandoned, this place that maybe represents myself, my deeper self, my inner self, my soul, maybe even the collective unconscious, that there is something whole here, something whole and unbroken. So I got to make contact with a part of me that was whole and unbroken. And even to this day, is completely whole and unbroken. So as often as I feel like I'm wounded, I'm traumatized, I've been, it's not fair, it's not right, that I have this dream and this memory of this just perfection of something beautiful and whole. And I also like the word urn in this context, that these pots remind me of urns. And the reason I like that word, because it reminds me of yearn, which is is a sensation that I have come to really value over time. I call it longing or yearning. And there's a way that this yearning can kind of pull us forward. It can help us move to where we want to be. So rather than saying, oh, I don't want to be here, I don't like it here because X, Y, and Z. I don't like this. I don't like that. That's a negative way of approaching our lives. And it can kind of keep us locked in that way. But if we can open up to our yearning, to what's pulling us forward, and then that can be a powerful way of working with ourselves and with our dreams. That is a very positive way. So I started to, this slide, I think of, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. And that, even though my mother in waking life she's still alive, she's a wonderful woman. And she was just very, very busy. She had her job and she had 4 kids within 6 years. I was the third of 4. I didn't have a lot of attention from my parents, but in my dreams, I get to have the support that I didn't get when I was a kid. And so there's a way that the dreams can help us not only to reframe our past, which is extremely helpful, to take the facts of our past, but put them in a light where we did the best we could, and we did what we had to do in the moment, and then that can be a very helpful thing that dreams do, but also to go back and actually kind of give us the nurturing that we never got. So there's a way, I had this dream where actually I was a little girl and I was scared, and there was a woman there, and there was a way that I got to feel this support. And by letting that in on a really deep level, then part of me starts to be healed. Part of me starts to see, oh, maybe there is support for me here in this world. And there's many different ways that I found that I was starting to let myself be supported, letting myself be led, letting myself kind of surrender, letting myself trust. Like, a lot of the journey of dream work for me has been learning to trust myself, to trust my relationships, to trust the universe, that the universe is actually a friendly place. And this was a dream where I felt that there was, I felt that his penis was inside me. Hopefully we're allowed to talk about sexual things, but human beings are sexual. And there was I felt it inside me as we were walking together. And there was just such a lovely connection here, and faith, and just to trust another human being is something that I really have a hard time doing. I think it's challenging for us to trust each other. And there's, you know, even to this day, I frequently have dreams where there's people that I can be with, and I can feel intimacy, and I can feel connection. And I think that's one of the really valuable things that dreams can bring to us. And over time, I also started to open up to the community and feeling like I'm one of the community. Here I'm a smaller tree in a community of larger trees in one of my dreams. And there's a way that the dreams have opened me up to that as well. So there is something inside of you that these dreams are doing every single night. And I will say that the dreams are doing most of their work on their own, because even I, who remember a lot of dreams, I remember 4 or 5 dreams a week, but I'm probably having 4 to 5 dreams per night. So most of the dreams that I have I'm not working. And so most of those dreams are getting work in the background. So when we are listening to dreams, we are really eavesdropping in on this ancient evolutionary process. All mammals dream. So as far as we know, dreams have been around for hundreds of millions of years. And so there is something very powerful and healing about dreams. And so over time, I found that my world has very much opened up, and that I feel like a lot more confidence and a lot more trust of myself and with others. I found dream friends, and these are my drumming friends that I drum with. And I started a radio show. I'll say some more about the radio show. I've been doing that for over 2 years now. And then the big picture in the middle, that's my boyfriend, Max. I found a really sweet man to love. So the dreams feel like they really led me forward over all this time. So dreams are really an ancient process, and that there's a way that there are certainly many dreams in the Bible. There's shamanic practices often involve dreams. And this picture on the left is Gilgamesh and Enkidu. And this is the most ancient piece of human literature that we know of, 4,000 years ago, and is riddled with dreams. There's dreams throughout that epic. So that we know dreams have been important for humans as long as we have records. So what is actually happening? Because I am still a scientist. Yes, I have that PhD in astrophysics. I am still a scientist. So even though what I'm passionate about now is dreams, that I am very curious about the science. And I'm not going to go into a lot of the science today, but I wanted to just bring up this picture of the brain, you know, something about brains. I love them. So this is a side picture of a human brain. And in the blue, highlighted in blue, are parts of our brain that are reduced while we're dreaming, and the red parts are what are enhanced. So if we first look at what's enhanced, the red parts show that the limbic system, amygdala, hippocampus, and all this are enhanced while we're dreaming. So and these are the parts of our brain related to emotions. And another part that's enhanced is the visual part of our brain, but not the visual part that takes images from outside that's triggered by the eyes, but the visual cortex or visual part of our cortex that's related to the processing of visual images. So dreams have a lot of feelings, and they have a lot of visual images. The part of us that is reduced during REM sleep, during dreaming sleep, in blue here, their frontal cortex, and this is the part of our brain where we are creating logic, and where we're looking into critical thinking and judgment. So the judgment and logic are all reduced, which is one reason why dreams can be very crazy, and we might think nothing of it. It may be no big deal that, you know, that the moon just fell into the ocean, because it's like, oh, well, that's a little scary, but it doesn't seem odd. So the part of our judgment, our critical brain, tends to be suppressed. And one of the reasons I show this picture is in order to enhance this natural process of dreaming, I recommend that you try to reproduce this brain state as much as possible, which is to let yourself drop into your feelings, the limbic part of your system, and let go of the judgment, let go of the critical thinking, let go of the critical parts of the brain. And then, of course, also bring up images, so that we have images and feelings. So images and feelings are kind of, for me, the essence of what dreams are. Oops. There we go. Oops. Okay, so I'd like you to let's give an example of how this works. So I'd like to think of an important childhood memory, or even doesn't have to be childhood, but something that was important to you, something that that's changed the way that you feel about your life, changed who you are. And maybe if somebody's willing to share in the chat, I would love to see a memory or two. I can also just give some generic ideas, but just take a moment and think of something in your life that changed who you are and a memory around that. It could be very simple, like my parents got divorced when I was 10, as an example. And let me just give you a second to think about that. Yeah, so you know, we are so often shaped by our experiences, and I think that's part of the power of human beings, is that we are malleable creatures, we are resilient creatures, we get to be shaped by who we are. So like the example of having parents divorce at an early age, I've had people say things like, I got bit by a dog, and if that is something that happened, then that could really change your relationship with dogs. So as you think of these memories, so if you have a memory to think of, let yourself think about the memory, and you'll notice that the feelings, oh, here's one. I had an aunt that reprimanded me in what I felt was a very harsh way when I was 5 years old or so. Thank you very much for sharing that, April. Yeah, so as you think about that aunt reprimanding you, so if you think about being scolded in that harsh way, you probably feel a little bit of what it's like to be that little girl. But there's also a perspective, like sometimes that kind of a memory we might see from the outside. We might see, okay, there's my aunt and there's me and I'm being scolded. And that is actually really helpful to have that distance. Because one of the things that the way memory works, is a good thing that we don't hold on to the feelings around these memories, because these feelings can be extremely intense. That if you had if the feeling was always as high as the actual memory, then we wouldn't be able to learn the lesson. For example, if you ever cut your finger cutting something, like cutting a carrot or something, and you know how much that hurts if you cut really deep, like to the bone even, or just if you cut yourself badly, that pain would be so intense that every time you picked up a knife, if you remembered that pain every time you picked up a knife, you wouldn't be able to handle a knife. You would never be able to prepare dinner again. So we need to know the lesson. Okay, be careful when you're cutting, be careful, but then lose the feeling, because the feeling itself is too intense. So the feeling around a memory marks that memory as important, but it does tend to obscure the memory itself. It obscures the lesson of the memory. So there is I must have trouble with this. There we go. So there is this fellow named Matthew Walker, who's a Berkeley professor who has a sleep lab up in Berkeley, and he has a lot of research into the way dreams affect our memories. And his conclusion is that dreams wear away the intense emotion from important events, leaving us the lesson. And so you have something that happens to you, like, oh, thank you, Phyllis, for sharing, moving away from the farm I loved. And so there's like this sadness of moving away from the farm. So, but this intense sadness is something that over time gets worn away, but you have the memory of moving away, and the lesson, whatever the lesson might be, is like that I have no control. Like, when I'm little, maybe I don't get to make choices. And so those lessons are not always so beneficial. Like the lesson of that I don't have control is something that's true when we're young, but as we get older, then we might want to start to feel like we have more control. So the dreams will help us shift those lessons. But this figure here just shows a little bit of Matthew Walker's theory, that when we have an intense experience, that there's an emotion surrounding a memory, and that the emotion therefore marks the memory as important. But the dream, every time we sleep and we have dreams about this situation, it wears away some of that emotion. And so what's left is the memory, so that we have the memory of the emotion, but the emotion doesn't flood up in us whenever we think about that experience. We might have a twinge. It might be like, oh, I'm sad that we had to leave, but you don't feel the intense pain that you felt at the time. And this system is interesting because there are times when it fails. For example, in post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, that is a situation where the emotion is not worn away from the memory. And so the emotion and the memory come back full blown for people after accidents or events in war as flashbacks, because you basically find yourself reliving that memory in the full emotion that had happened originally. And one of the characteristics of PTSD is poor sleep and nightmares. And part of this is the process of the dreams wearing away that emotion has been interrupted. Okay, so I would like to do some breakout rooms with you folks. And I want to start by saying that there have done lots of studies. When you ask somebody, would you like to sit? So if you're in a waiting room, you have to wait for a doctor's appointment, say, and you ask the person before, do you think you would enjoy yourself more if you talked to somebody else in the waiting room, or if you just looked at your own magazine or your phone? And people say, oh, I'd rather just look at my phone. I don't really want to talk to people. And yet when they put people in a situation where they are basically like, where they end up talking to somebody, they always say they're glad they ended up talking to somebody. So I hope that some of you would enjoy doing a breakout room. And I'd like to suggest that you can share with other people in the room, what have your dreams meant for you? I'd like to do this for 10 minutes. I think we're still on time for that amount of a breakout room. And just split the time between you and just take a few minutes each and say out loud, like, okay, well, maybe I never remember my dreams. That might be one of it. Or it could be that I always write down my dreams, but I don't know what to do about it. Just to think out loud a little bit about what dreams have meant to you during all this time of your life and what questions you might have. And we're going to come back, and I have a few more things to say, and then we'll go to Q&A. So go right ahead. Thank you. And you can always come back, or you can ask me for a question if you're having trouble. See some people. Good. All right. I think we're back. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. So let everything happen to you. This is one of the things that my dreams have kind of taught me. Beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. That's the thing, is whatever feeling is happening is going to change. Feelings, people, everything changes. So here's a few tips for enhancing that overnight therapy that we're getting every night. Is it can be helpful to write those dreams down, just because they will disappear so quickly. So it might make it a practice in the morning to just write a few words about whatever dreams and add in the feelings. And yes, so that's the next point. It says record the feelings, and then also some memories and associations. So these are all like different levels that you can work with your dreams. And then if you want to work more deeply with the dream image, I encourage you to trust, to like bring this sense of trust, or at least a hope for trust, or like a declaration of trust, whether you feel it deeply or not. It's like, there's some way this dream is here to help me. This dream is sorting out my life and sorting out my feelings. And so I'm going to just trust that the dream is there for me. And by taking a breath as you work with a dream image, it can be very helpful to deepen that. Extra credit, you can write about it or draw. You can ask somebody to listen to your dream. And you can also go deeper in a regular dream group or dream coach. But basically, writing dreams down is one of the most important ways that we can honor them. So I love this proverb: the morning is wiser than the evening, and it's all thanks to dreams. So write your dreams down, and you'll be glad you did. And that's all I want to say. So thank you so much for being here today. My name is Katherine Bell. There's some contact information for me, and I'd like to request that folks, my helpers, put it in the chat also. My web page, email address, and also this radio show I've been doing for a little over 2 years. It's also a podcast. So you can get that anywhere, Apple, iTunes, Google, Spotify. It's called the Dream Journal. Look for that logo, that pink logo in the corner there. And if you have not yet found out about ksqd.org, it's our local community radio stations. You can streams live for free online at ksqd.org. And you can also tune in locally at 90.7 FM. There's a lot of good local community information happening on the Squid. So I am happy to be a part of that. And thank you for being here. I really feel so supported and so excited that so many people showed up. Thank you. And I think we're gonna have time for questions and answers here. So you can put the questions in the chat, or you can wave at the camera. I can't see too many of you, but I think my helpers can. And also you can use the electronic raise hand function, and that will pop you up to the top. I think once I stop my screen share, I'll be able to see more of your wonderful faces. So
it looks like we have a question from, we'll start with Roy and then we'll go to Joe.
perfect. Okay, I'm gonna go stop the share so I can see more of you guys, of everybody here. There we go. Okay, great. So I think who was that first? You're welcome.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Roy. Thank you.
Good. So thinking back to the earlier days of Santa Cruz, when I was a student in Bernie LeBoeuf and Calvin Hall, Ralph Berger, all doing sleep and all actually doing dreams.
Oh,
and we
very
got
cool.
the heritage of the Dream Bank, which recently resulted in a wonderful paper I haven't gotten to look at carefully, published in Nature, where they used machine learning to go through. And so I had a quick question on that and what your thoughts were because of your science background and especially in astrophysics. And then also a question on the practitioner side about the using images and the drawings. So I guess you already mentioned under the extra credit piece to sketch that. And so I guess that we just try and reach and draw that. Do you typically try and do that soon after you've had the dream?
You can, but you don't have to. Like the cage drawing that I did with the cage and the flames all licking up inside the cage, I did that several years after the dream. So if the main question is, the dream has some juice to you, if you're curious, is the dream and it's like, and it kind of brings up a little something in you, then it's still alive. Keep working with it. So it doesn't have to be right away. And the pictures do not have to be representational. I also do these little abstract sketches. So you can also do abstract sketches, but whatever it is, just as you're drawing, just imagine the dream around you and kind of see what gets revealed on the picture. A lot of times I notice things as I'm drawing that I didn't notice in the dream.
Great. So we have Joe and then Sebastian.
Okay, great. Joe. Hey, Joe. Good to see you again.
Hey, good to see you. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you. This was, I shared in my breakout room, my favorite of all the presentations offered this week.
Yay, awesome, thank you.
I've also enjoyed your other presentations. I know I went to your dream seminar last year, and then a couple years ago, you had a smaller group, not the big one, but the smaller one. Do you have either the small or big ones coming up December?
Well, I have quite a few online things going on right now. I have I have like dream groups almost every day of the week. I have groups where you can go and work your dreams with a small group of people, like 3 or 4 people, 5 people in a group. I do that several times a week. And then on Mondays, I have a larger group, which is a workshop. It's experiencing your dreams. And we're about to start a new phase in May. We're going to do a whole month about dreams and relationships. So blame, shame, projection, and sexuality. Those are kind of my hot topics. So it's going to be in May, and what dreams have to say about all that. So those are, as every Monday in May, 2-hour interactive workshops. So I'm available for that. You can contact me if you're curious about that.
Very helpful. And I'm looking at your website here, Experiential Dreamwork. Do we just go to either the workshop series or about Katherine to contact you?
Yeah, there's a contact page and where there's a little email link, but you can also go directly to krbell6@gmail.com. But that email, on the contact page, that form should, by the magic of WordPress, take you to the same email address.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're gonna go to Sebastian, and then we're gonna go to Barbara's question in the chat box.
Excellent.
Hi, thank you.
Sebastian.
So when you are reflecting on your dreams and you're trying to interpret them yourself, do you go by feeling and intuition, or, and I would understand that you would have a lot of like different methods or texts to draw from, but for someone who's like new to this or doesn't really think of making it a practice to interpret their own dreams, like how would you
Yeah.
recommend?
You can start anywhere. I'm glad you're asking that question, Sebastian. I would start by saying, okay, this dream is here to help me. There's some reason that this dream came to me and is trying to help me some way. So that's a good place to start. And so to have this level of trust. And then what I would recommend is go to the place in the dream where you have the most curiosity. Sometimes it's the place where the feeling is the strongest. But be tender, because if it's a painful dream, if it's a nightmare, then you might want to like keep a little distance and like just give yourself some space. But so be tender as you explore a dream. But I would recommend that you just go to the image that, or the moment where the feeling is the greatest, and let yourself have that feeling, because I really believe that the dreams are bringing us specifically the feelings. And I think the images really are mostly to sponsor the feelings, to make a feeling happen inside of you. And you may not know why. I usually don't know why, but there's some way that this innate part of myself is trying to keep me in balance. And I trust that the dream is helping me. So to go to that moment, and even if it's just for a moment, or just, very tenderly to kind of say, okay, I'm going to feel that moment, and just trust that there's something helpful here. And like remember the picture of the brain. So if you kind of let your judgment shut off, if you can, hold your judgments loosely, let them slide away. I mean, humans are judgers. That's what we do. That's what brains do, is they discern and they say yes, this, and not that. But try to kind of hold those at a distance and say, I don't understand this scene, but it makes me feel a certain way, and I trust that there's something helpful for me here. And so it's not a very logical thing. So it's kind of a long way from astrophysics, but there's a way. There's a way that there's something that your body is trying to help you with. And so there's some painful memory, maybe you're working out, or a lot of times there's openings. There's like, I'll see something that I get an opportunity, like starting the radio show. I had dreams about ideas about talking to people, and that kind of opened up into the radio show. So sometimes there'll be invitations in the dream where like standing on stage, and I was singing, and I oh my goodness, I could do that in waking life too. And so I started singing in waking life. I joined some groups, and so they look for the invitations as well. So I would go for the feelings, and you can look at symbols, but I wouldn't worry too much about symbols. That mostly is a question of trusting that there's something helpful here. And just, if you write them down, even without understanding it, you might after a few weeks notice a pattern, or you might notice some thread to follow. So sometimes just writing them down without understanding is a beautiful way of working with them. But thank you, Sebastian. You can certainly contact me if you have any questions. Oh, I do offer a free introductory consultation. If anybody has a dream they want to explore, see what it's like, then contact me, and I do free consultations.
So here's the last question, and then from there, Judith has some final words.
Okay.
I want to make sure we wrap up on time. So the question is, do you find it more powerful to sketch out your dream or journal out the dream after? Wondering if drawing taps into the emotions more than writing.
Oh, that's interesting. I love that. Well, there is something about kind of right-brained about the drawing and the colors and all that. So there may be something about that. But there's also something about writing. I actually do both. I've done, and some people will do like left hand writing with their dominant hand as a way of kind of tapping into the more intuitive self. Or having a dialogue between the different characters in a dream that can be helpful with one hand or the other. So I don't know that I can really choose, because I've also found it very powerful to write poetry around my dreams. And that's very much a writing thing. But I do agree that getting us out of the intellectual part of our mind is helpful. So that's great. Okay.
Thanks, Catherine.
Well, yes, thank you so much, Catherine. This was really insightful. And speaking for myself, it's given me a lot to think about. So I definitely look forward to maybe opening up those old dream journals again that I think some of us mentioned keeping earlier. Thank you everyone for participating and engaging today, for your questions, your comments, and just for being here on your Sunday afternoon. I hope you enjoyed this Alumni Week event. If you're interested in volunteering with UCSC in any way, please email alumni@ucsc.edu. Staff will add the email address in the chat box. We have about 70 events throughout the week, so it's never too late to sign up and join us and volunteer. Finally, we also encourage you to make a donation of any size to support UC Santa Cruz students. The crowdfunding link is being added to the chat box as well. And I've heard many amazing stories about the impact that the Alumni Association Scholarship Fund has had on UCSC students. The scholarship provides UCSC students with financial need and high academic standing a $3,000 annual scholarship. And just this year, we were able to give away 49 scholarships, and we really hope to continue to grow that number and support more students. So any gift of any size is appreciated, and you can rest assured it will go to help deserving students of all backgrounds. And so thank you again, Katherine, for being here today. Thank you all for joining us. And yeah, we look forward to having you again soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you so much.
Super fun.
Thank you, Catherine. That was so good.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad I could be here. Thanks for all the work that you guys do putting these on. Thank you.